Hey everybody, it's Leslie from WeLoveJones.com, and I'm coming to you with our October homeschool update. And before I do that, let me give you a quick life update and kind of explain why I've been missing in action. And that's because I've gotten a part-time job. I'm Catholic, and the Catholic parish I belong to was looking for a new youth director to lead the youth group. So that's the teen group. And I applied and got it, and that's just been kind of monopolizing some of my time as I transition into the position. And as I adjust, I'll kind of self-correct, and kind of level out and be able to post both in WeLoveJones.com and not neglect my part-time job. So anyway, brief life update to kind of explain where have I been. So excuse the clutter back there. So October is Halloween, so we've had some Halloween crafty things we've been doing. And then this little pizza thing here, I go to Mothers of Preschooler twice a month. And that you can't read it, but it says, I thank God for pizza. And so they did that at MOPS. I just thought that's so adorable, so I put it up on the wall because it's so stinking cute. The funny thing is my son has never had pizza because he just won't try it. So yeah, anyway, irony. So let me just jump into my homeschool update. If you've seen hopefully you've seen my other videos, my other homeschool updates. So I have a very specific structure I follow, and that structure is I'll tell you how many lessons we covered out of the main academic curriculum and how many we intended to cover. How my organizational systems are going. I'll cover each curriculum individually. So I'll go quickly because hopefully by now you've kind of gotten through that structure. If you're new to the channel, welcome. So I hope I gave you enough of context so I don't sound like a crazy person. So this video assumes you know what curriculums I'm using. If you don't know and you're new to the channel, I have separate videos on my channel that explain what curriculum I chose for what subjects. My son's in K4, so he's 3 years old doing a 4-year-old curriculum, a preschool curriculum. So you can refer to those videos, and then I also did a video explaining my homeschool planner, and then a different video explaining my organizational systems. So when I talk about my organizational systems, I'm referring to that. So, all right, let me just jump right in. Every month we try to do 20 lessons out of the main academic curriculum and out of the Bible curriculum. And we shot for 20 lessons, and we did 20 lessons, and the pacing has been great. We are still on track to finish 165 lessons between now and April. So May 1st, we will be done with school. So yay. I will say we did a lot more skipping of school days, and so the next day we would make up days. And school was a lot, there were times where it felt rushed, or at least I felt like I was rushing. So my motivation was a little different. So that was a change for me because I'm used to just having a lot more dedicated time. But I have the same amount of time to plan, and so as far as the time it's taking me to prep and all that, that hasn't been hurting. So that's good. So I don't know. There's no problem. So it just feels different because my attention is split. So it's just something I need to get used to, I think. So, my organizational systems. So real quick, I'm one of those crazy people that took apart the workbooks. I just did. I took apart the workbooks. I know for some of you that just makes your skin crawl because that is just not your thing, but I dig it. I broke up the workbooks and I split everything up by month. Once I knew what how I wanted to split up the year, I split everything up by month, then by week, and then by day. And so I have organizational systems for all the worksheets for all the curriculums that we're using, and so my organizational system is working out great. And I'll get to Spanish later. The only thing I want to comment on is the math manipulatives and the phonics manipulatives. the curriculum, because there's more phonics going on now, they're ramping up on the phonics. We just finished Unit 4. I'm using a lot more math manipulatives and a lot more phonics manipulatives. And so sometimes when we do school, at the end of school time, the dining room is a mess. I mean, it just looks messy. I mean, secretly, I'm kind of like, yeah, that mess means we did a lot of school today. And usually, the messier the dining room table looks, the more, usually it means, one, we had a good time during school time, and two, we covered a lot. But to an outsider visiting our house, I'm sure it looks like a train wreck. And so, you know, it's just one of the downsides of not having a dedicated schoolroom is that even because my son's in preschool, like school just kind of takes over the dining room sometimes. So it's really been on me to kind of keep up with the clutter of the little math manipulatives that came with the curriculum and the phonics manipulatives. So the organizational systems haven't fallen apart. Everything has a place to go. It's just tedious sometimes, and sometimes I'm just like, just put it in a neat pile in the middle of the dining room table because we're going to need it tomorrow. So I probably need to stop doing that. So anyway, or find a better system. I don't know. So if you have the same problem, let me know. Comment below. Share with the rest of us your secrets. All right. So now the main academic curriculum. And we are on, there were 3 of these teacher's manuals in the curriculum. And we are on the 2nd book. So in November, we've moved into Unit 5. In October, we finished through Unit 4. The teacher's manuals are excellent with this Bob Jones curriculum. I do want to say a couple things. I'm still having to kind of give my son things to do with his hands because he's 3. And most days, the curriculum holds his attention just fine, and I don't have to give him anything. And then there are some days where he's just a little more distracted, and I have to give him like plain paper and scissors to cut while I teach him. Or I have to give him like a silly putty or a slime to fidget with. I haven't bought him a fidget spinner just because I think that would be too much like a toy and too distracting. It's just, that's fidget spinners are really for older kids. And yeah, so on days that I struggle, I use that, and usually that's all I need to keep him engaged. The curriculum is paced in such a way where if I'm struggling, there's enough in here to help me kind of keep him engaged on the topic. I'm very blessed that usually he's into it, and we can just power through something, and even if it's something new and difficult for him. And if he's struggling with something, it'll usually show in frustration because he's, especially since we're doing a little bit more writing now, if it's not perfect, he's kind of shuts down, and he has to kind of I have to do a lot of talking him into trying again, because just because he didn't do it perfect immediately doesn't mean you don't try again. So anyway, I wanted to comment on that. I'm glad the curriculum addresses keeping their attention so that I can have tools. Because the curriculum is using a lot more manipulatives, sometimes it's been easy. The weather has changed. It's now fall, and Mississippi summers are really brutal, really hot, really humid. And so now that the weather has started to get cooler, we've been able to do more school outside. And so sometimes it's been easy to do school outside because we have manipulatives that I can just do. I just save the manipulative stuff and do it outside. I need to do a better job of kind of packing up and going to the park, because my children have spent a lot of time at the park this month, and they're probably going to want to spend more time in the park because there's a small window of time where it's not too cold and not too hot to go to the park. So I want to monopolize on that before the weather gets too yucky to do that. So yeah, the other thing I'm loving about the curriculum right now is these assessments. So this is the assessment for Unit 3. These assessments are informal. They're optional. They're not required in the curriculum. but I love that they're there. So there's a CD that comes with the teacher's manual, and so I have one of these checklists for each unit. So at the end of each unit, before we move on, I can go through this, and there's no instructions for these. It's just I could either ask myself the question, does he understand these concepts? What I've chosen to do is on a day that we don't do school, for whatever reason, is I'll do this instead. If we've gotten to a natural point where I need to do one of these, I'll do this. And I'll use the manipulatives that come in the curriculum or that I've made through the lessons, because some of the manipulatives you end up making in one of the lessons. And I keep all that because it says to. And like the name flashcards and stuff. And so I laid out all the flashcards with all our family names on them. And does he recognize his first name? Yes, he does. He actually recognizes his written name written out, and my name written out, and his dad's name written out, and my daughter's name written out. Does he recognize these numbers? And notice it says number recognition, not number quantity. So I can write myself notes through each category, and it's very much in line with what he did in Unit 3, and it is cumulative. I don't know why I can't say this word, but so each unit does build on what you learned in the previous unit, and because it's preschool, it's each unit is repetitive a little bit and builds on what you know. So because it's preschool, so I can kind of write myself as far as like down here, letter recognition. He's struggling with I and Y. The letters he struggled with at the end of Unit 2 were different. And over here, this is just an example of kind of what these assessments look like. And then he struggled with some of the math and science concepts that they covered in the curriculum. Alike and different and all and some. And notice their math concepts. Math is his weakest subject. He struggles with number quantities. And so yeah, this gives me, I have some way, though very informal, of measuring and assessing how good a job I'm doing in instructing him and what he's struggling with, so that going into Unit 4, I have some idea of areas I can focus, pay more attention to, lessons, parts of lessons I can be more targeted in. So I love that the curriculum has this option. I'm kind of data oriented, so my little nerdy self is like, yes, I'm so glad this is in here. Yeah, circle time. We have been flat out omitting circle time during homeschool time, just because we've been busy this month. Again, I got a part-time job. I'm still kind of adjusting my schedule and adjusting into the job. And circle time just isn't as big a priority for me as the academic stuff. But for speech purposes and just for life skills purposes, the circle time stuff is stuff he needs to know and practice. Understanding the calendar, knowing the months of the year, the days of the month, that's stuff he needs to know. So I kind of need to refocus my priority on circle time in November. So that's my bad. That's not the curriculum's fault. That's all me. Because I just don't enjoy circle time the way I did at the beginning of the school year. Yeah, I rather get to the meat of the curriculum, not the circle time. So that's me. My issue. The next curriculum is the health curriculum, the free USDA provided curriculum. We finished, so that curriculum is split up by you cover a certain amount of fruits and a certain amount of vegetables, and you spend like a whole unit on that one fruit or that one vegetable. So we just finished the unit on yellow squash. Never got him to eat it in October, and we have started the unit on cantaloupes. So it's going great. I'm impressed with the DVD that came with that curriculum, and again, it was all free. And the manipulatives, like the big posters that come with it and all that. So I'm impressed with it. So for a free curriculum, I'm not expecting a whole lot of success, and my child's sensory issues just, the fact that it challenges him is more than enough for me. I'm happy with it. I'm staying on track with it. So the only thing I would say is learning the USDA's My Plate system has been a bit of a struggle for him. So I need to decide whether to spend more time with it because he's struggling or less time because he's struggling. So that's a personal decision. I kind of need to just decide what I'm going to do with that. So, because each unit does circle around and cover the my plate. It used to be a pyramid. The USDA used to have its dietary recommendations in a pyramid, and now it's like a my plate thing. So that's that. Spanish has been almost non-existent. I talked about this a little bit last month. My son, I don't have a curriculum for Spanish. I bought a workbook, and I thought that that was going to be enough for me to be able to teach him, because I'm a native Spanish speaker. It's my first language. Theoretically, I should have no problem teaching my son Spanish, but I don't speak it at home very much. My husband is not Hispanic. So really the only people I speak it to are my parents. No one else in my life speaks Spanish. It's just me by myself here in Mississippi. My parents don't live here. My parents live in Houston. And so does my sister. And my brother lives in Los Angeles. So there aren't other Spanish speakers that I spend time with that my son can hear me speak Spanish with. So I'm very reliant on, say, Dora the Explorer and music I found on Amazon and other books I have kind of found and cobbled together, but I don't have a curriculum I follow. And what I'm realizing is that I'm a better teacher with a teacher's manual, because I have a long-term vision of what I need to cover in a school year. And when I have like a list I can check off, I'm a heck of a lot more productive. And so the month of October has definitely solidified for me that next year I need to buy a curriculum, like a comprehensive curriculum that we stick to. So I need to decide what that's going to look like. I'm either going to go with Calico or BJU. Calico and BJU Calico is a little cheaper. Whistle Fritz isn't colorful enough. So because my son is used to a certain type of aesthetic to his learning materials, I kind of want to stick to that. So yeah. So if you have tried either BJU or Calico, please let me know and comment below, because I want to talk to you. I want to pick your brain about this, because I'm leaning towards BJU, but Calico is more affordable. So we're chugging along with Spanish, though not well enough according to my standards, really where I thought we'd be by now. I'll say this. My son is making more of an attempt to speak in Spanish, although that's really more because of Dora the Explorer. I don't think it's because of anything I've done. So yeah, I feel like a gigantic failure in this area. One of my big motivations for homeschooling is because I want my son to be bilingual, and I very much feel like I am failing at it. So anyway, piano. We did no piano in the month of October. None. My husband was going to take over doing it, and he just hasn't had time. And so really what this means is I need to make a decision to either drop piano completely, or I need to recommit and put the time in that it's going to take for me to learn to play, say, Wheels on the Bus or Itsy Bitsy Spider or Old MacDonald, which are the 3 songs my son likes to sing the most, and just learn how to play one of those songs myself so that I can teach it to him. Because if you play it and it doesn't sound like something he recognizes, I can't imagine he would stay engaged. My son still plays with the piano we bought him. He's still very much interested in the piano. So there's that. So I mean, though he's had no instruction, he still has had the exposure. The piano is always out when we do school. It's always there. It's always plugged in the dining room table. So there's that. So I mean, yeah, I need to just suck it up and learn it so I can teach it. So, or drop it and be okay with it and just let him just accept exposure is all he's going to get this year and be okay with it. So I don't know. PE, we have had a lot less PE. So out of 4 Fridays, he's only done 2 PE Fridays. But the other 2 Fridays, we just went to the park and we spent an hour or 2 at the park because the weather's been great. Really, what should have happened is that I did the high intensity interval workout at the park, and that just didn't happen. So one Friday, my daughter had a major poop and we had to leave. And another Friday, I just didn't feel like it. So he hasn't had as much PE, but you know, I just need to start doing the same workouts that I would normally do at the park. He can either join me or not join me with the PE, and you know, I'm cool with him playing in the playground while I do the high intensity interval workout that he would otherwise be doing with me at home. So BJU Bible and Seton Faith Formation, I think they call it Seton Catechism. Those are the two Bible curriculums I'm using. So let me just cover BJU first. There have been a lot less of the interactive worksheets that you can kind of glue on a sheet of paper, and there's like a flip page to it. So that sucked. I wish that was more consistent. There are too many Bible stories, and I wish that they spent more time kind of teaching you a story or having you teach a story and then spend more time with the application of what the moral of that story. Because there's some of that, but I almost wish I could almost stretch this out to 2 years, because I feel like we need to spend more time with each motif, and I feel like that's not happening. The next is Seton. Seton is still my go-to for prayer life in instilling the Catholic faith in my son, because BJU is very Bible intensive and it focuses a lot on Bible stories, and I like that you connect it to kind of real life applications, but instilling a prayer life in my son, that's very much from Seton, and it does a better job of teaching children to kind of live out their faith and understand how to live their faith than I think the BJU curriculum does, because it's just Bible story, application, Bible story, application. So thank you thanks for stopping by and watching my homeschool update for October. That was it. If you have a comment or a question, please leave that down below. Give this video a like. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Bye.